This is the RACER H2O podcast.
It's time to drop that flag!
Go! Come on. Right here, go get him! Cut it tight. Be on the tractor, baby! Bring it home!
And now here's your host.
Rewind battle for the lead, shoulder to shoulder, going into turn one. Rips that boot around!
Jared Rosberg.
Yeah, what's up, troops? It's your old pal Jared here. Welcome to the podcast. Hey, we're tanned, we're rested, we're ready. Had a great break over the Independence Day weekend. Hope you did the same. Hey, do you have all 11 fingers and 10 toes? I'm very proud of you. Good job. Way to operate those high explosives at a safe level. Hey, we got a bunch going on this week, fans. We come out of the break. We had some racing. And from the handful of events that we had during the break, we'll bring you some results. But right now, got a couple headlines.
Stand by for the news.
Well, for a change, we've got some good news with the bad news this week, but let's get the bad news out of the way first. The NGK F1 Tunnel Boat Series joined the ranks of the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes, Hydroplane Racing League, and many others in canceling the remaining races on their 2020 schedule. Pittsburgh and Windsor, Colorado will go without racing this year due to COVID-19. Springfield, Ohio, on the other hand, fans, will be racing. Their event will happen in August and will be ran as an independent APBA event. More on that shortly. In other tunnel boat news, Powerboat Nationals is still awaiting confirmation on their two remaining races for 2020. Both the Grand Prix of Wisconsin in Wausau and the Grand Prix of Missouri in Branson are slated to be ran in August. We expect to know by the end of this week whether both, one, or neither will go off as planned. Now let's get to the good news. There was some racing before and during the Independence Day break. The last weekend in June, Pro Watercross ran their event on Lake Hartwell in Georgia, and the youth movement in personal watercraft racing continues. Sammy Niemi took home the overall win in the sports stock class by going 1-2-1 against a fleet of 17 boats. Not to be outdone, fellow teen Hayden Skellett went 1-3-2 to take the overall in Pro Watercross's Blaster GP class. Bradenton, Florida's Troy Snyder overcame a fourth-place finish in Moto 1 to go 2-1 and took home the win in the runabout class over Dylan Osborne and Brian Baldwin. Georgia's own Dennis Mack, Old D-Mac, grabbed the overall win in the box stock with a 1-4-2. For a complete list of results from all the classes, visit prowatercross.org. Next up for Pro Watercross, a trip up north to Racine, Wisconsin for round number 3 of their COVID-19 shortened 2020 season on August 1st and 2nd. Over the 4th of July holiday, the NBRA and the U.S. Title Series teamed up in Clarksville, Arkansas for the 2020 Lightning on Ludwig outboard racing event. Jason Saylor and Tara Cook took home the win in the 1100cc runabouts. Doug Hall earned top honors in the 1100cc hydro class, and Austin Vanover won the 700cc runabout event. For a complete list of results from Arkansas, visit ustitleseries.net. Their next event, fans, is July 24th through the 26th in Constantine, Michigan. They make a trip up north as well.
And that was the news.
Coming up, well, the NGK F1 Series may not be racing in 2020, but the Springfield, Ohio race event is going on without them. We'll catch up with the promoter of Champions Park Lake, Dana Potts, when we come back to the podcast in just 15 seconds. You are listening to the RACER H2O podcast.
RacerH2O.com is the place to go to find easy-to-use links to our social media. Watch, read, listen to, and enjoy our content on demand for free on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and RacerH2O.com.
This is the RACER H2O podcast.
Fans, welcome back to the podcast. As you heard in the opening segment there, in our little news segment, bad news for the tunnel boat racing community. The NGK F1 Series canceling the remainder of their 2020 season. But not so fast, my friends. One race is going to stay on the powerboat racing schedule. It's going to be an independent race. It's going to be held in Springfield, Ohio. Wake the Lake 4 is still underway at Champions Park Lake, and I'm joined now by the promoter of the event, Dana Potts. Dana, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Jared.
Well, in full disclosure, fans, Dana and I have worked on many, many projects in the past, so we are friends and acquaintances off the podcast, and we've shared many a boardroom talking about new ideas. In fact, we just spent nearly an hour on what should have been maybe a 10-minute pre-interview, but nearly an hour discussing the state of things. But, we talked before, Dana, about many different ways of doing powerboat racing, many different ways of promoting it, both as a promoter and in the media. And you've done something a little bit different. You've gone away from, hey, let's look at a series, let's look at a bunch of races. You've settled down into a nice little corner of central Ohio, Springfield, right off of I-70, and in a beautiful body of water there at the county fairgrounds, Champions Park Lake. How did this all come about? Let's go back. How did you come up with this idea? How did you land in central Ohio?
Well, I grew up in Springfield, Ohio, so I got my first taste of boat racing through a gentleman, Bill Chatfield, that ran the Arcadian boat famously. Then I worked for him on the Overton's Formula One team with Rusty Campbell and Mark Trotter. And so we ran the F1 Prop Series. So his actual machine shop at the time, Micro Enterprises, was across the street from the fairgrounds and what at the time was a gravel pit. And we used that gravel pit late 90s. Well, he used it from 80s to the 90s as a test facility. So I joke with all the racers that race at Champions Park Lake, you still don't have enough laps to compare to Rusty Campbell, because the way Chatfield tested, it was intense. So your minimum, 400 or 500 laps in a weekend in a tunnel boat out on the test lake. So that's how I got into boat racing. Bill helped me get involved. Then I decided to go car racing. Worked for Clay Milliken and Top Fuel Drag Racing. Got to put sponsorship deals together with NHRA. I did some stock cars, Indy cars, trade shows. Touched all motorsports. Well, one day Bill got a call from the county fair director. They got a new county fair director. His name was Dean Blair. This is back probably 2015. And Dean had remembered Bill and said, so what had happened is they finished this gravel pit. I think it was in 2008. I'm not sure the exact date, but they finished the gravel pit off. And the deal was, once the gravel pit was finished, they were to donate it back to the city. Well, at the time, the city didn't really, I think it was 2008, 2009, they didn't really want it because there comes expenses, insurance, various things like that. So the fair bought it was adjacent to the Clark County Fairgrounds, so the fair bought the lake. The city offered it up and said, yeah, we'll buy it. Well, the fair director at the time didn't really know what to do with it, so they basically just fenced it in, and it sat there for a while. And that's when Dean approached me and said, hey, you think we can put on boat races here? So Bill called me up, and we chatted for a while, and he said, do you think we can do it? And when we tested on it, it wasn't big enough to put a boat race on. It was big enough for 2 to 3 boats at the same time on it. Safety-wise, it wasn't big enough. And I hadn't been to the lake in 25 years. So we came back, and Bill and I walked the facility, and we were like, wow, they dug this thing out since the last time we saw it. So that little lake turned into a 115-acre perfect square lake, had cove setups, had natural amphitheater setting, had gates already put in it to enter, totally fenced in, and we're like, man, this is a dream. We don't have to invest a lot to get this thing up to speed to race. So Bill, if you know anything about Bill Chatfield, safety is paramount with him. Same with me. So we called Fairchild up and said, hey, we're thinking about making this in a race facility. We got an idea, but we want to make sure we can get boats out there and be safe. So we ended up talking with Tim Siebold and Chris, and it was Mark Profit, and talked them into bringing 3 boats down to do a demonstration. Well, if you know, Bill Chatfield doesn't like the press. I like the press. And I was like, hey, if we're going to bring 3 boats down to do a demonstration, let's get the media out. So the next thing you know, we had the tent, we had media out, we had dignitaries out, we had the city of Springfield, and we put 3 boats out on the water, and Fairchild, our current APBA president, wasn't at the time, said, we sat down and said, is it safe? And he's like, yep. He's like, this is a perfect facility, and it'll work exactly what we need to do for tunnel boat racing. And we didn't have a course set up in our mind just yet, but, we said, this is just perfect. So then from there, it was all right, now we got to do this. It took us about 6 months to get it rezoned, because it was currently zoned as commercial property, I believe, and now we're rezoned as entertainment. So it took us about 6 months to do that. Then from there, we started, and we sat down with Timmy, and we did the first year was the NGK Series. I think that was the first overall year for the series. Because the funny thing was, Jared, you'll like this, is Timmy was in his NGK boat doing the demonstration, and he was retired. And people were like freaking out a little bit. They're like, oh, I thought he was retired. Why is he in a boat? And it was kind of cool. So Tim was great about, and it's funny because we talk about the history of that lake. There's been guys from Jonathan Jones that's tested there. Bill Siebold's been there. Legends, Don Johnson have been on that lake. There's some amazing. I mean, I think they tested the Wizard, the 2-headed, outboard V6 motor, V12. There's just been so much history there of what's going on, and it's really exciting to see it grow and over the past few years. So. Well, I tend to be long-winded, so jump in and stop me.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, that's all great information for the fans. I mean, it's very rare that you find a place that has such incredible history, and then it becomes what's basically a purpose-built facility. I mean, you see purpose-built facilities for baseball, football, hockey, basketball all over the place, but for watercraft racing, that's incredibly difficult to come by, and you have a wonderful asset there and a wonderful jewel there with Champions Park Lake in Springfield. Now, all this was going on. Everything's come up to 2020, and here we are. What was for many supposed to be, RMG Sports and Racer H2O, this was supposed to be a banner year for us. We had so many races lined up. Everybody out there, we're ready to rock and roll, and COVID-19 happens. I mean, and even the NGK F1 Series was set to return. The Champions Park Lake. They had
a lot of momentum too.
Yeah, a lot of momentum. They were supposed to bring a lot of boats, a lot of excitement, a lot of fans. Then just last week, as we mentioned, Timmy Siebold, John Schubert pulled the plug on the remaining 2020 season for the series. However, you're still racing on August 8th and 9th at Champions Park Lake as an independent event. Now, what was the process behind this decision, and why was it made?
Well, I'm in the event business, and I'm in racing. I mean, my agency, I also do car racing stuff too. So I've always been a big believer around racing. Racers figure out how to race. So, obviously Chris Fairchild and I talk quite a bit, and Timmy Siebold and I talk quite a bit. And it's unfortunate they had to cancel the season this year.
Right.
We don't wish that on anybody.
No,
we did not want to have we wanted to have the NGK Series, but I understand the reason they had to do that, because, one race isn't a season, let's be honest.
Right.
And guys want to run for a championship. But part of the thought process was we need to race, because if we don't figure out how to race now, what's going to change in 2021? We don't know. We just don't know a virus or what, is going to be, or not an antidote or whatever that might be, a cure for COVID. So we looked at our venue and said, how can we race? Fortunately, we've put a lot of things in place already. We sell tailgate spots. We sell an individual tailgate spot for $100, and you can tailgate and bring general admission people in there. And we've built a really good history of that. For 3 years, we've been, sold out pretty much every year with tailgate spots. So we already had that you see a lot of people doing drive-in movie theater concerts and things like that. We had already had that in place because we have such a big venue. The other process was, okay, we can social distance, we can practice things. We are non-contact sport. So it's not like our racers are, jockeying and boxing people out.
Well,
so
let's hope
okay,
not. I've been to some races.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
We might argue that, but
exactly. At the end of the race, there might be a few fisticuffs, but mostly we can practice social distancing. We can do the right things. The other thing is we're outdoors. I know Chris Fairchild with the APBA. They had a big conference call earlier in the year with the Olympic Committee, talking about risk for events, because the Olympic Committee was looking at a lot of things, and they were the experts. They had a lot of information and data, and one of the big things was, outdoor activities spread out, are obviously less likely to have contact with other people. So we felt that, Chris and I have talked, we're like, APBA is in place to help alleviate risk for boat racers, for fans, for everybody. We want to put on safe races. So Chris and I sat down, we talked, can we do this? Can we make it safe? Can we work in a new environment? And we thought we could do it. We think we have the infrastructure. We have a gated facility. I treat it like a short track, so I charge admission to come in and watch us. That's the only way to watch our racing, just like going down to a NASCAR track or going to a basketball game. You got to pay admission to see us, which is rare in boat racing. So we felt that we could do it safely. Now, granted, there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of moving targets right now. So we sat down with the fairgrounds, and the fairgrounds had put in place a program with the local county health commissioner. We also sat down with them and said, hey, what do we need to do and put in place? We won't do it if we can't be safe, if we can't have safe fans, because I want to have safe fans. And part of the reason we have a right-hand turn at our facility is I want my fans safe, because it slows the speed of the boats going toward the fans. So we're very much attuned to that. So we had that conversation. We felt that we could check all the boxes. We looked at a lot of other plans. I got information from USAC, my other friends in event management and event plans. We saw what NASCAR was doing and said, all right, if we follow these protocols, I think we can do this. I understand why the other cities were canceling events, because there's a lot of things you have to go through, hoops, to alleviate risk. Right. We felt our system and our venue had the ability to do that. So that's kind of why we started the process of moving forward. And Tim and I had discussions constantly, and I get why they did that. I understand it. We all hate it, because we all want to race. We want to race a national series and everything. But I think everybody appreciated it. Like, we got to go racing, because if we don't figure out how to do it now, it's going to be just as tough or more tough next year to figure it out. Plus, I have a ton of racers saying, hey, we bought some new equipment. We need to get it wet. So that was the other aspect, too. You had a lot of guys that had some new toys, which I think there's probably like 5 or 6 new boats this year, new composite boats, and everybody's like, hey, I want to get them wet. I want to go race. And because if they don't race now, they could have to wait till May of next year to run the NGK Series. So that's a lot of time off.
Well, and I tell you, there are going to be a lot of race promoters watching what you guys do. We've already seen races with the drag boats down south. We've already seen pro watercross and some personal watercraft racing. We've seen some of the hydros and stock outboards racing a little bit. And everybody is watching and taking notes. And as you said, it sounds like you guys are certainly checking off the boxes for the safety on the fan side, and that's good. But now let's talk about, because I know there are a lot of drivers, or at least one or two drivers, both of them that might be listening to this podcast right now. But there's some drivers listening, some teams listening, and there's some questions that I'm sure that they have and the things that they're interested in. First off, I know that on the sanction and on the card before, you had a lot of different classes, F1, 45, tri-hulls, J-hydros, 500, 700 MH. What are you going to be racing in Springfield at this event? Is there any change to the card?
So the way we've set it up, we have registration open right now. So we have F1.
And before you go further, where do they go for that? Is that at wakethelakeohio.com that they can register?
Yeah, you can go to wakethelakeohio.com,
okay.
And you will go under the ticket information tab, and there should be a registration tab underneath that, or like a scroll down.
Okay, so registration is open online at wakethelakeohio.com right now.
Yeah, wakethelakeohio.com or championsparklake.com.
Okay.
It'll stream you into the same website.
Okay.
So we'll have F1. F1 is for sure because I've got over. So the way we set it up, Jared, is we put a lot of classes on there, and we basically said, "Hey guys, we're going to be really tight on sponsorship. I really have no sponsorship this year because everybody has frozen their money." I said, "We're going to race because I got fans that have bought tickets, tailgate spots, and camping spots, and they want to see racing." And I said, it's going to be bare bones. It's not, we're going to try to pay out a purse, but we're not sure. But we need to race. So we've set up F1, and basically we've said we've added all these classes. We've got plenty of time in the schedule to work it because we own the lake. So we put a lot of classes out, and basically what I let guys know is like, if we get 10 boats in a class, we'll activate it. If I don't get 10 boats in a class, then we'll nix it and understand that, there might be issues with COVID-19. Guys can't make it. Economy's bad. I understand that. Don't hold ill will to any of those guys and be upset at a class that says, oh, they only had 5 boats. I'm not. It's an interesting environment. So we're just doing the best we can. We will have F1 because I think currently I have 15 boats that registered in the first week. So we will have F1. We've got a good 45 contingent showing up right now. So I'm pretty confident we'll have those. Tri-hulls, I think we'll be confident we'll have. 120s, I'm not sure of. I know guys have hit some rough times. I talked to a couple of racers today, and they said, well, they've had to lay a lot of people off at their business because this isn't their full-time job, boat racing. Right. Shocker.
Yeah. I don't know of anyone. And if they do have a full-time job in boat racing, it doesn't last for very long. It doesn't pay very well. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So 120 is struggling a little. We got some guys doing double time that want to do F2 and F1. So. But we've got a lot of interest from modified hydros, the mods, and we're only racing mods, so those are the loud ones. So we've got, I think, 200 MH all the way up to 500, and I think 750 and 850s. I think we have a good contingent of those guys that want to come out. We haven't opened up their registration because we've been coordinating with their group to make sure we're all on the same page and we're working cohesively together. So that was the thought process. We want to get as many boats as possible, but we also want to put on a race, and we basically said we got to get 10 boats in a field to call it a race. So I think we'll have a really good turnout. The challenge we're probably going to run into, and I know some teams are talking internally about it, I'm not sure if we're going to get any of the Canadian racers down, just because there's, border issues and things like that. I don't totally know on that just yet. That's a moving target that we can't really predict. That's kind of how we're going to set up registration. And also to let your viewers know, we're not just a tunnel boat facility.
Right.
I want to race everything. Sure. I want to eventually race 12 races in the summer. I want jet skis, I want a wakeboard competition, which I have been talking to a wakeboard and wake surf competition because they like the depth of our water. I want jet skis. I want wakeboards. I want hydros. I want the mods, the stocks. I mean, next year we'll have the stock, mod, and junior nationals, which we were planning on having this year, but we had to postpone. So I want those guys. I want as many. first year I tried to see if Lucas Oil would bring the drag boats in, but I don't think those drag boats might be a little too big, the top fuelers, because I don't have enough length. But I think I can do drag boats for outboards,
Right.
and maybe some pro stock or whatever you call them.
Well, like I said, you have a purpose-built facility there, and you have infrastructure in place. It's not far off of I-70. I mean, it's really a minute off of I-70. So if you're bringing a hauler, it's very easy to get in and out of. There's hotels around, there's restaurants around, and I know that that's only going to grow. The infrastructure is only going to grow and improve as Champions Park Lake continues. But let me hop back into this coming event. You mentioned about all the rules being put in place. And fans, there's a very cohesive list at wakethelakeohio.com, all the safety precautions that are going to be put in place, how many people you can have, whether you can have a 10-by-10 pop-up tent, whether you can have people from outside of your family sitting with you, all that kind of stuff. They have a very extensive list of rules at wakethelakeohio.com. If you're going to the race, I strongly encourage you to check those out. They're not crazy rules. I mean, these are all, it makes sense to me, and it's not hard to follow. There's going to be food there. There's not going to be any live music, Dana, which usually accompanies these events. But obviously, I mean, look, let's face it, we can't have people standing shoulder to shoulder at a concert right now. We will someday, but not right now. Now, let me ask you this, though.
Exactly.
Now, we went over the rules for the fans. What sort of additional rules, restrictions, procedures are there going to be for the teams, drivers, and officials? Masks, social distancing, hand washing, what sort of things do you guys have in place to help protect the people that are coming in from out of town?
So one of the things that we have to do, and this is going to be a challenge for all our boat racers, is that they can't gather in their pits. They can't have more than 10 people. They also cannot what we call compound. So they can't have one door of their pit facing another door of another pit. That's considered compounding. So you have to have those doors facing away from each other, and we'll make sure that's taken care of. I'm looking at doing some tape and some things around their pits. They can't sign autographs. They can't put kids in the boats. It is disappointing. We have to honor those systems of social distancing. We are still working through masks. So most likely right now, and I'm having that debate, our competitors and team members, I know my staff will have to wear masks throughout the day. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. The advantage, too, is, we're in an outdoor event, so it's easier to social distance. We will have to do a virtual driver's meeting. We can't gather. I cannot do a driver's banquet party. So typically on Friday and Saturday of our event, we feed the drivers and teams with a little banquet or something that we have close by. We can't do that, but we are going to do something for them. But they're going to have to come and pick up a to-go box or something of that nature. So we can't. That's going to be the challenge for my racers, is that they can't gather and socialize. And it's unfortunate, because I know a lot of guys, and me as well, I want to be there with my friends and family, and we want to enjoy it. It's just going to be a challenge, and it's something we're going to have to work through and work together on and understand that. We do a parade of boats, so we put all the boats on a trailer, and for opening ceremonies, we parade them in front of all the fans. They actually go on shore, and it's really become a staple of our event with the tailgaters. They love it because the boats go by, they get to see them, they get to hug them, high five them. We're still going to do that, but they can't go up and hug a fan or sign an autograph or pass a autograph card out. So we have to keep those things limited just for the safety purposes for everybody. And I think all my racers would understand that. We want to keep everybody healthy. Right. They want to go back healthy. I want to go back healthy. My family wants to go back healthy. So I think everybody will be, it's nothing extreme. It's not like we're, telling you to lock down and show up in a bubble. Right. But really practice social distancing. We won't have we're going to instruct our racers to, if they have golf carts, keep their team on that golf cart. Don't offer other people rides from other teams or even fans. I know that's going to be a struggle for me is, we don't have shuttles, from parking. We just can't do it. You can't take that risk of putting multiple people onto a golf cart. It's unfortunate. But I think majority of the fans I've talked to and the racers, they understand it. I think that need to go racing is stronger than some of these other things. I mean, eventually, hopefully one day we'll get this all figured out and we could go back to hugging each other and high-fiving each other, because I really miss that, honestly. and my mom's a hugger, and I think that's doing worse for her than this whole staying quarantine. She's not able to go out and say hi and hug people.
Right. Well, I mean, we all just have to keep in mind with all of these rules that have been put in place, these are temporary. Mm-hmm. We have to follow these rules and keep our eyes on the horizon of when we don't have to do this anymore. And the more we follow these rules, the safer we stay, the faster we get back to racing the way we're used to racing. And I don't like to use that word normal because I don't know what normal is going to be when that happens. I'm just saying let's get back to racing a little bit more like we used to. So now, Dana, you mentioned we may not have some teams that are able to make it. We may not have fans that are able to make it. And again, all the information about the event, wakethelakeohio.com. Is there a place? Is this going to be live streamed? If so, where can fans watch it?
So we have two elements right now. We will be doing live streaming because we do have live timing. So you can actually go on the Champions Park Lake Facebook page and we'll have it streaming through there. We also have a Roku channel that we're putting together that the live stream will go out on. And we've talked to some local bars and the team's local bars to where they can get a Roku channel at their local bar and hopefully drive some traffic to, say, Jimmy Kerr that's up in Lapeer, Michigan, get some of his friends and family to come out and watch the race at a local bar and stuff, and help that local economy, get back into business through proper social distancing and stuff. But we will have a live stream, and it'll be on Champions Park Lake Facebook page.
The dates are August 8th and 9th. The location is Springfield, Ohio at Champions Park Lake. Wake the Lake number 4 is ready to rock and roll. WakeTheLakeOhio.com, Champions Park Lake. Now, forgive me, what's the second website, Dana? ChampionsParkLake.com? Is that what it is? I don't want to confuse the fans.
Yeah, ChampionsParkLake.com and WakeTheLakeOhio.com.
Those are the places to go, fans, to get all of the information. I strongly encourage you as we get closer to the event. We know how things can change very, very quickly, and they've been doing a great job with the website and social media getting the word out. We're doing our part, fans, to let you know. Dana Potts, thank you so much for what you're doing and trying to get racing. It sounds like, as you said, you're checking off all the boxes to have a clean, safe race in Ohio. Best of luck with the event, and please keep us up to date with any types of changes, good or bad. I know everybody's excited to come to Ohio.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for everything you do, and keep up the good work.
Fans, that's going to do it for the podcast this week. Thanks again to Dana Potts for being our guest on the show. When it comes to Racer H2O on social media, fans, make sure you're liking, sharing. Very important that you share. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're going to have a ton of bonus content on there. Some rewind stuff from our race coverage from the past 15 years of racing. You never know what we're going to throw up there, fans. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tell your friends to do the same. And when it comes to the podcast, fans, wherever you're listening to us, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Keep us in the good graces of all of the podcast providers. So once again, fans, thanks for listening. I'm your old pal, Jared. This has been the Racer H2O podcast.